What's up guys, I'm Nick of CamCrunch, and today I just released a new CamCrunch color preset pack for Lightroom. And so in this video I want to show you guys what you get with the actual pack. You can go purchase this on camcrunch.com/presets. So in this video I'm going to show you guys the 7 different presets as well as the other options that you can do within these presets. So let's get into it. So in this video I want to take you guys through the features that are available in the CamCrunch Lightroom Color Preset Pack that is now available on camcrunch.com/presets. Now this preset pack comes with 7 different presets, and it comes with a couple of other features that I want to share with you today. Now the reason why we have 7 presets is to make it easier for you guys to choose which preset to use. We have CC 1 all the way to 7. Now the good thing about owning this pack is every time we make an update to a certain preset, we are going to send those guys to you so that you guys can install the latest presets onto your computer. If we add more presets to this specific pack, so if we make a CC8 for example, or CC9, so on and so forth, we are going to send those to you as well. So here on the left hand side in the presets module, in the develop module of Lightroom, you have CC1 all the way to CC7, and you can sort of see the changes that's happening right now on the preview window. You have exposure adjustments so that you can just sort of stay within this presets module. You have minus 0.3, minus 0.6, minus 1.0, so that's one stop. You have plus 0.3, plus 0.6, and plus 1. You also have exposure 0, which resets the exposure to whatever you shot. You also have grain settings, grain 0, which resets it. You have grain 1 and grain 2. You have warm cast, which is sort of a warmer filter that you can add to any of the presets that you choose. And again, you have warm cast 0, which resets it. You have warm cast 1, and you have warm cast 2. So right now, let's take a look at the different presets that you get from CC1 to CC2. But before we do that, I want to show you guys the exposure setting, because I can tell from this image that the exposure is a little bit darker than what I'd like. So I'm going to do plus 0.6, and let's take a look at that, compare it to the original, and it is a little bit brighter. And I do like how bright it is right now. It's much easier to work with this picture. So let's first click on CC1 and see what happens. And as you can see, the colors are a lot more punchy. Let's take a look at the before and the after. It's a lot richer, a lot more contrasty, but some of you guys might not want that, richness and that very saturated look. So let's take a look at CC2. So you can see the sky became a lot lighter than CC1. Let's go back to CC1, then go back to CC2. So a lot of you guys might like this more muted look to the image. Let's go to CC3. Again, it's a different look. CC4 is sort of, I'd call it like a cross-processed look, because the blues actually change to more of a green blue or a blue green. You have CC5, which is a little bit more neutral, but I don't know if you can see this through the video, but there is a slight fade to it. So the blacks get a little bit grayer. It gives you that more aged look. You have CC6, which is very similar to CC5, except as you can see, the shadow tone is a little bit more red, which I really, really like. Let's take a look at the before and after and isolate that. And then you have CC7. CC7 is actually the most, I would call it not neutral, but it's the most like the original. It's just a little bit more punchy. So if you want, a similar image to your original, but a little more punchy, then you want to use CC7, as you can see there. Now I'm going to go back to CC1. Let's see how exposure plus 1 looks. I actually like exposure plus 1, but the shirt here is a little bit blown out, so let's keep it at exposure plus 0.6. And I'll show you, if you click exposure 0, it goes back to the original setting. Let's go back to exposure plus 0.6. Now you have your grain 1 and grain 2. I usually like putting grain 1 on all of my images. I think it adds a little bit more character to the image. and looks really nice. But grain 2, it's a little more aggressive, but for certain images it fits really well. I like using it with C6 and CC6 and CC5. I like adding a little bit more grain. Even something like CC2 looks pretty cool with a little bit more grain. And if you have a black and white filter, and we will be releasing black and white filters very soon, we might actually give those ones away for free, so stay tuned for that and subscribe to the channel. But when we do that, these grain settings look really, really good with those as well. So let's go back to grain 0 for a second, and we are actually at CC2 right now. And I want to show you guys the warm cast setting, because this is something that I wasn't sure if I was going to include in this pack, but I like how it can really change the image. So right now we're at warm cast 0. Again, that's neutral. That's without any settings applied. We have warm cast 1, which makes it slightly warmer. And then we have warm cast 2, which makes it a lot warmer. And you know, I actually like this warm look to it. The shirt looks more neutral here. The rocks, the highlights in the rocks look a little bit warmer. So do the shadows. Let's go to CC7 and see how that looks. That looks really, really good right now, actually. So that's what could be a final image. Let's add grain 1 to that. See how that looks. And I think that looks really, really good. Again, let's go back to the original. And you can see the change that occurred. And it all happened in just a matter of clicks. Now let's look at some other pictures that I have here. This picture is one that I actually took in 2010, so it's quite old. And again, I want to start by increasing the exposure because it does look a little bit darker. I think this one needs 1 stop of additional exposure. Now nothing here is blown out, so I think it looks, you know, pretty good. Let's start again with CC7, which is the most neutral. It just has that little bit more pop that you get from the settings that I've added. You can also put CC2. CC1 has a lot more punch. CC4 again has that sort of cross-process look. You can see the skies turned more of a blue-green, and then the skin tone is a little bit more red. You can see that in the shadows. I really like this look for this picture, actually. So let's add some grain to it. Let's add grain 1. And I think that amount of grain looks really good. And let's see how warm cast looks. I don't know if it will look good, but let's try. So this warm cast 1, again from 0 to 1, you see that there's that little hint of warmness. And let's see how warm cast 2 looks like. Actually, warm cast 2 doesn't look too bad either. It looks really nice. And let's flick through the different filters so that we can see how that looks with warm cast 2 and grain 1. CC5 is a nice and neutral look. I dig it. CC4 again. 3. This one's also very muted. It gives it that sort of film look, but not like slide film look, more of a negative film. Then you have CC2, and again CC1. I think CC1 actually also works for this image. Let's go to warm cast 1. It's not too warm. That looks really good. Now let's go to this last image that I took in DC. Again, it looks pretty underexposed, but we'll just do plus 0.3 for this one. And then let's try all the filters. So CC1, it's got that, you know, a little bit more punch. The skies look bluer. Let's go CC2. This one's a little bit more neutral again. You got some red in the shadows, but overall a more neutral look. CC3 looks really nice for this image. You get this nice, deep, rich water. The skies are coming out too. You get nice contrast. Let's see how plus 0.6 looks. Looks okay too, actually. I like 0.3 a lot more. Let's try CC4. The skies turn a little bit more green, like I mentioned earlier. CC5, more neutral. I like it. CC6, you get more red in the shadows, but you get that sort of fade. And you get CC7, which is, again, the most like the original image, just with a little bit more punch. Let's go to CC3. I like 3. I like this richness. Let's go grain 1. Actually, maybe grain 2 might work for this image. It's a little bit too grainy for my taste in the skies, but over here in the where the trees are and when the water is, grain 2 looks fine actually. But because the skies are very flat, we'll just stick to grain 1, and let's see how warmcast looks like. I like how this image looks like, but let's try warmcast 1. Ooh, I'm digging this. Here you can see the difference between the images. So yeah, that's it guys. That is the quick run through of the CamCrunch preset pack. Again, they are available on camcrunch.com/presets, and I'll have that link too down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.